I really think Donald Trump is going to topple Nicolas Maduro, the head of Venezuela. I think it could actually happen as soon as this weekend. I don't know if you saw, they had a press conference the other day where Trump was talking very tough, and he was talking about boots on the ground.
Can you tell us more about why the airspace above Venezuela should be considered closed?
Because we consider Venezuela to be not a very friendly country. They sent millions of people, really, and probably a number in excess of that. And a lot of those people shouldn't be in our country, from jails, from gangs, from drug dealers, from all of the people that came into our country shouldn't have been in our country, causing a lot of problems.
Does your warning
and drugs.
Does your warning mean that an airstrike is imminent, or should we not read it that way?
Don't read anything into it.
The New York Times reported that you had a phone call with Maduro. Did you?
I don't want to comment on it. The answer is yes.
And can you tell us a little bit
No,
about
I can't
it?
do that.
Mr.
Would you say it went well?
No, I wouldn't say it went well or badly. It was a phone call. Yeah.
You've made so.
Can you talk a little bit about the strikes and the controversy around Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth?
I don't know anything about it. He said he did not say that, and I believe him 100%.
You don't know if there was
You're talking about the two men?
The second strike to kill the two men.
No, he said he didn't do it. He said he never said
Would
that.
you be okay with that if he did?
He said he didn't do it, so I don't have to make that decision.
Right now, off the coast of Venezuela, which is, of course, on the north part of South America, the Caribbean Sea, there's an enormous flotilla of U.S. Navy ships, including the Gerald R. Ford, the largest ship in the world. It's the newest aircraft carrier in the American arsenal. There's other equipment too, and there are thousands, I've heard, between 10 and 15,000 troops. So it's not just boats. It's a huge deployment. And not only is there that Navy and of course, the floating air base that is an aircraft carrier off the coast of Venezuela, but Puerto Rico, which is the U.S. territory a little bit further north, they have an old Air Force base that has been recommissioned. And AFP was actually there just on the road taking pictures of F-35s and C-130s and V-22s, all this heavy equipment coming and going. This is not a drill. At least it sure doesn't seem like one. I'm going to make a prediction that war will come. But when I say war, I think it's going to be more surgical than mass. Nicolas Maduro seems nervous. Here he is. He actually speaks less English than I thought he might. Here he is talking about he wants peace, he wants dialogue. Take a look.
Tuve una llamada y conversé con el presidente de Estados Unidos, Donald Trump. Puedo decir que la conversación fue en un tono de respeto. Inclusive, puedo decir que fue cordial entre el presidente de los Estados Unidos y el presidente de Venezuela. Digo más, si esa llamada significa que se están dando pasos hacia un diálogo respetuoso de Estado a Estado, de país a país, bienvenido el diálogo, bienvenido la diplomacia, porque siempre buscaremos la paz. Welcome dialogues, welcome diplomats, welcome the peace. Peace, yes. War, never, never in your life.
He also is trying to be as tough as possible, saying he's mobilized grassroots defense. I saw some images of men and women marching with guns. I noticed that there were no bullets in those guns. I don't know if they're either out of bullets or they're afraid to arm the people because they might turn their guns against the government. Maduro has asked for amnesty. Apparently, he had a phone call with Donald Trump where he basically said, if I leave, will you let me be? Will I have amnesty for various crimes? And Trump apparently said no, which is slightly surprising. You'd think Trump, the deal maker, would say, oh, sure, you can leave, the same way that Bashar Assad, the former dictator of Syria, just sort of left. And he's living in Moscow now and no one's tried to chase him for anything. He's gone. In the meantime, this naval flotilla is keeping busy attacking little drug boats. You've probably seen some of the footage of these little boats. I've seen a submarine as well, but it's mainly speedboats. But they're pretty little. You don't need a mighty aircraft carrier task force to take out these little boats. Now, they say they're making a difference, though, and I believe it. I've heard reports that the market is so distorted now because the supply is shrinking and demand. I mean, there's obviously supply, demand, and price for anything, including illegal drugs. But they're taking out a lot of these boats. You don't need a B-52 or aircraft like that to take out these boats. Now, in the United States, some left-wing media are opposed to the shooting of these drug boats, if you can believe it. Some of them even claim that it's illegal. I don't know how that could be argued, given that Barack Obama actually had more drone attacks than any other American president, and the media was fine with it. But I'm not an expert in the law of war, but I do know that a few months ago, in fact, I think it was actually the very first day of his inauguration, Donald Trump declared the drug cartels to be terrorist groups. And I'm not sure if you know this, but Canada listed the same groups as terrorists up here. And there's this phrase, it's a Latin phrase, which there are in law. There's a lot of Latin phrases, hostis humani generis. And you may have heard me talk about them before. That's this concept of being an outlaw, of being an enemy of all mankind. It's typically terrorists and pirates. Isn't that interesting? And a terrorist or a pirate is entitled to a drop of legal process, but not much more. In the old British Navy, the Royal Navy, they would have called that a drumhead trial. Are you a terrorist? Yes. Are you a pirate? Yes. Off with your head, or walk the plank. They didn't bring pirates all the way back to London for a trial. Same thing with terrorists. In the war on terror, they used drones. They used snipers. They didn't arrest them, put them in handcuffs, bring them back to America, and have a trial in front of a jury. That's not how it works. Trump legally declared them terrorists, and there is no rule that you can't shoot a terrorist. Recently, there's been some chatter, well, what about a second shot? There's no rule that you can't shoot a boat once and then shoot it again to sink it. That's just not a thing. I know the left would love criminal trials for terrorists and drug dealers. They would love that because they would take forever. There were some trials in America for Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and a few other terrorists, but I think that would take a decade. So yeah, Trump is following the law, and it's the same law that Obama followed, by the way, when he would drone anything that moved. But put that aside, it is a fact, getting back to Venezuela, that Nicolas Maduro is a tyrant. He's a dictator. He's brutal to his own people. He stole the election, and it's universally regarded as stolen. I mean, I suppose North Korea, China, and Russia and Iran, I think they supported Maduro. But the rest of the world, even countries that don't much like the United States, said Maduro stole the election like Hugo Chavez did before him. And things have gone from bad to worse. I saw a little video on X the other day of a family that looked quite stylish eating what looked at first glance to be a nice dinner. And this was a propaganda video designed to show that, oh no, we're not starving. But if you look carefully, you can see it's fake food. It's plastic food. That's how desperate things are there. Here's a story from Reuters, a few years old now, but it's gotten even worse. The average Venezuelan, has lost 24 pounds. It's basically a famine. And you can make jokes about how I'm fat. But, the average Venezuelan is not fat. They're undernourished. They're malnourished. They're practically starving. The average person has lost 24 pounds. That's how miserable it is under socialism. Now, it shouldn't be this way. This should be really one of the richest countries in the world. It has the largest oil reserves, as I mentioned the other day. But then they went ahead and nationalized it like tyrants do. And production fell by 70%. They produce about 1 million barrels a day. It used to be 3 million barrels a day. So if you do the math at current prices, that's about $43 billion a year that's just not happening. The entire GDP of Venezuela is only about 100 billion. That would be 50% more. It would be like, that old joke, if you put the government in charge of the Sahara Desert, they'd run out of sand. Incredibly, you put the government in charge of oil in Venezuela, the largest oil reserves in the world, and they're running out of oil. They're down to just 1 million barrels a day. I mentioned before the other day that U.S. companies like Exxon, ConocoPhillips, Chevron, they were all part of the foreign companies that were pumping oil, getting that huge production. They were all kicked out, expropriated, their assets were stolen. But the funny thing about terrorist, tyrant dictators is they don't know how to do anything. They don't actually know how to create wealth. They just know how to steal it. That's the reason why Venezuelans are so poor. They're practically starving.